Well, my fundamental position, and you know that I have worked on this issue for close to 4 months now, and I've spent my time researching on NPC and the systems and processes. I've done primary and secondary research work around this topic. And my conclusion after these 4 months of work is that the NPC is not prepared to deliver an accurate demographic data. And that is why I have called for the postponement of the upcoming census by at least a factor of 7 months. And my argument is layered on 5 key talking points. Number one is that you have to look at unaudited systems and processes. Number two is the mood of the country and the possible attacks on NPC staff. Number three is the organizational capacity of the NPC. If you put that organization, the organizational capacity on a scale, you will see that what will happen May 3rd to 5th, if they are not stopped, is going to be a monumental disaster. Then number four is the political pressure. And then number five is general lack of awareness. Let me start from the fifth one. Even while we're supposedly less than 1 month away from the census exercise, there is this secrecy around it. Go and ask the ordinary man on the streets. They don't even know that the census is coming up. Apart from that, the laws governing this census, as enlightened as you are, Franklin, as a journalist, and I've worked with you, I know how enlightened you can be. But I can ask you, do you know the current NPC Act and what it says? The answer is no. You can't find that NPC Act on the website, on their website. You can't find it on PLAC website. You can't find it anywhere. The guidelines are not known. What is the strategic playbook between the time they knock on your door and the time your data is gazetted as an official document? You don't know. The systems governing this process, what is the strategic playbook? What is the PDAs? What is each person going to be doing? That is not known. And then the laws are opaque. Nothing is so even with INEC and its limited transparency, you saw a lot of issues. Today, the NPC is boggling and hurrying to do a census with limited transparency, and I'm assuring you that the data is not going to be reliable. Then that's on the lack of awareness. Then two is political pressure. Because census numbers are relied upon for things like resource sharing and creation of polling units, creation of additional polling units, and then I've also mentioned that even technical rigging of elections on regional voting pattern is justified based on fictitious or sometimes manufactured census numbers. There is this motivation from political actors, religious leaders, clerics, and all of those things, really traditional rulers, to inflate population numbers, especially at the local and at the state level. More so, if you look at Nigeria's laws and conventions, it puts a lot of pressure on the leadership of the NPC. For instance, go to Section 213 of Nigeria's Constitution. The only person that needs to accept the census report is the president. If he accepts it, it becomes official document. If he rejects it, everybody in NPC, all the 38 commissioners and the head lose their job that day. And so therefore, the Constitution has made it imperative that they are not trying to do a census that is generally acceptable, but the one that the president will accept. More so, our laws does not allow you to litigate. So if you have gone through the census and you feel injured by the census, and you feel, for instance, 2006 census was rejected, every census in Nigeria historically has had issues on one issue or the other, and they are about deliberate manipulation of numbers, manufacture of fictitious numbers. So you don't have the legal room to go to court to argue that you have been injured. So within that limited capacity of political pressure on the people, and then your inability to engage afterwards, that is the second thing. Then the third thing is you're looking at is the organizational capacity of the NPC. Take it or leave it, the NPC had not done any major work since 2006. That's 17 years. And we know how Nigeria works. For instance, before COVID-19, very limited number of people has heard of NCDC. But during COVID-19, we saw them everywhere. We saw even using presidential jets to do their assignments. And today, because we have gotten technically out of COVID-19, and that organization has been practically packed. I saw the other day that there was additional approval of 3.2 something billion for NPC to acquire critical software. That approval was given because we are months to the election, to the census. But what has happened is that this organization has been neglected for nearly 17 years. And if you're going to consider the natural law of attrition, it is only fair to assume that the limited and the cumulative productive capacity within that organization has atrophied due to lack of full deployment. Make no mistake, they have been running skeletal operations, they have done mixed survey, they have done health survey, they have done other surveys, but they have not done any major national exercise in 17 years. So we need to know that this vehicle that we've packed for 17 years, before we engage on a long distance journey with it, we need to know that the greases have been oiled, that it has been thoroughly serviced. As at today, even their training models, Nigerians don't know the amount of trainings they are doing. They just tell us that they are training people, and what is more than likely to happen, especially now that they have continued to bungle their internal training models. I have interviewed people, they have kept postponing, and they have kept bungling it. So it is more than likely that if you allow these guys, they are going to roll out enumerators and other staffers who are not knowledgeable about the systems and the processes. That's organizational capacity. So then you talk about the mood of the country. This census is coming after a disappointing general elections. Take a minute to think about what might happen in Lagos, where people who were flogged out of their polling units just weeks ago, who were beaten and maimed, who were stopped from voting, and you are coming back today to count them as part of the Lagos population. So I'm saying that we should take some time to heal the nation before we embark on another exercise. Today, Nigerians are suffering both in terms of fuel scarcity and naira scarcity leading up to the elections. You have a lot of ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. Look at what is happening in Benue. Look at what is happening in Nasarawa. Look at what is happening in the other states, Zamfara. Are you going to be deploying officials there? And I'm making the argument that if MPC does not take time, they will be exposing their enumerators to harm's way. And then even if you want to assign them police resources, because they are going to be transversing the whole of the country, you don't have enough police resources to attach to each unit of enumerators. That's that on the rule of the country. So I'm making the case, allow for things to settle down a bit, allow for the inauguration to come on, allow for the new government to settle in, and then allow them to take their time to conduct a census. And the final argument I'll make is that MPC systems and the processes have not been audited. We have heard them talking about digitizing the whole process, but the PDAs, the servers, the strategic playbook, the passwords, they said they have acquired geospatial devices. Just last 2 or 3 weeks, the federal government approved for them 3 billion naira to acquire software. Now, if you're acquiring software for 3 billion, that is not the case. But the case is this, that the software, the systems, the processes, the hardware, everything, they have not been subjected to multi-stakeholder audit and integrity tests. And I'm saying to Nigerians, don't walk into a major national exercise with unaudited systems. This is the same warning we talked about during the INEC. We told them the IRF, the BVAS, the ABIS, they have not been audited. Not just the systems now, the processes. For instance, look at what happened with the BVAS. That as little as withholding passwords from the coppers who are doing the field work, you have technically delayed the time they are able to upload on the server. So when you are designing systems, you must design systems with process in mind. And therefore, we need to know, what is the playbook like? What are the servers? How many servers does MPC have? What is the PDA? They said they have acquired GPS devices. Do we know? And what I'm making is the argument that you cannot allow these people to engage the census with a porous system. Or if you have to engage any system, we have to determine that these systems cannot be corrupted by the individuals handling them. Where it is determined that the individuals handling these systems can manipulate it, then you cannot rely on those systems to produce accurate demographic data. So those are the layers of arguments. One, delay the census and allow for independent multi-stakeholder audit of the systems, especially from the people who stand the grave risk of being injured by a flawed census exercise. Two, allow for the mood of the country to, settle a bit. The nation is a little bit unsettled. Three, we must introspect the organizational capacity of the NPC. The 700,000 additional staff they are hiring, who recommended them? The processes of hiring them was less than transparent. And then even as at today, less than 1 month to their exercise, some of the people who are going to be doing this work don't even know that they are going to be doing this work, let alone being trained for the job. Then you're talking about political pressure by both from the president, especially if you have seen the president is 95 percenters, lopsided appointments, and inability to manage Nigeria's diversity. The question should be, should Nigerians trust Buhari's government to deliver free, fair, and credible census, especially coming after a very disappointing national elections, and knowing that historically, Nigeria has always had the problem of accurate demographic data, and then the lack of awareness. How can you be doing a census? The laws governing the census is not known. The strategic playbook is not known. The guideline is not known. So what do Nigerians know about the census that they are going to be counted? Nothing. And so this is why I implore Nigerians to use all the platforms available to them to prevail on the federal government to delay this census by at least a factor of 7 months.